Stephan, you and I, we've both been traveling a lot in the last 2 weeks. So we're going to talk about what's the sentiment in the community that we perceive. And obviously, we do want to talk about the halving and the trading before and after the halving, plus the BitMEX 250X today. But as always, we start with how are you and how was your week trading?
Yeah, hey, as you said, the week trading was a little bit less than usual because of traveling, going to the conferences in Dubai and now for you in Thailand, in Bangkok. So that was pretty busy and people saw the news from Dubai. So we even had less time to trade because everything was
swim.
Not in the worst way. I have been one of the lucky ones who could get around pretty okay-ish. I mean, not as planned, but okay-ish. So everything's fine there. But before we come to the sentiment in the market, let's speak about the halving, right? I mean, halving happened. We spoke about that multiple times before, what might happen before, after, or around halving. And I think we have seen quite a lot. So number one, what is very interesting for me from a macro perspective in the crypto world is that at least for the last couple of days, the costs to mine a block have been much higher than the actual Bitcoin price. So that is what we spoke about earlier, or what I said on various events. Now is the time where miners need to readjust how they perform in the market. Will everyone stay there? I mean, you have calculations. If 15% of the mining capacity will go out of the market, we are basically on par again. But now the big question is, will there be more demand that drives up the price, or will the miner capacity be reduced? AKA the hash rate, right? So we will see. We're not quite there yet. And this is why we had all of this trading from my point of view in that range. I mean, frankly, everything happens now between 65 and 70 with small breakouts below 65, but it's pretty stable, which is for me a positive sign. Still, we have the risk of a little bit of a correction. But for me, this is really a positive sign. We are holding. And then more on the community side, if you looked at that, you hinted at that. I mean, 73 Bitcoin fee paid for block number 840,000. And we had the Epic sats auctioned at 33 Bitcoin, right, yesterday. Amazing, which means for me, the community is alive and kicking. People really see it's here to stay because otherwise you wouldn't buy it for that, right? I mean, you want to own exactly this block, exactly this set. To basically say in 10 years, look what I have, and I got it so cheap.
Yeah, I mean, an Epic set is basically the art of the future, right? There's only so many Van Goghs, and there will only be 32 Epic sets ever. So congratulations to whoever auctioned it. It sounds like a high price, 33 Bitcoin now. Maybe it's actually cheap in the future.
Yes. I mean, remember the pizza.
Greetings go out to Laszlo. Enjoy the pizza. I'm sure he's fine.
Yeah, exactly.
I think, you mentioned it, right? Many people were afraid that we would see major price movements around the halving. Not really, because obviously it was kind of anticipated, priced in. And with the launch of the Runus protocol, also we've seen sort of demand going up, mempool going up, and we end up having a much higher mempool utilization and also fee paid per block than anticipated, which is just showing that the network is strong, stronger than people anticipated, right? And maybe very quickly talking about ETH, I think we also see sort of the same expectation for ETH. I've looked at AVAX and DOT this week, and also I think we see that people start to re-believe again into the utilization and the usage of the network is something to look into when you invest into network blockchains, right? So we've seen all of them doing quite well. There was a little price movement, I think it was yesterday morning, but that was mostly due to, I think, US stock markets and sort of macroeconomic perception, not so much due to what's actually network utilization. So let me ask you.
Sorry, because it's for me, for a natural point as you speak about ETH, right? So and not leading over, but talking a little bit of what we see on the macro side. So, and I mean macro side in terms of a crypto community, what's going on the base level of the community and the technology. And for me, coming from the conferences, speaking to people, everyone's meeting up. looking what's ahead for the next 9 months, basically. It is very interesting to me to look at 2 things or 3 things. It is number one. Last bull market was very much driven by, inflation, monetary policy, the macroeconomic environment. That still is the case, and it is a driver for the industry. But what you see in the last month, basically, is that although we have now lesser expectations about interest rate cuts, and even inflation not being tamed, but in a way contained, I would say, at least for the time being, Bitcoin still is strong. The industry is still strong. So we go away from this monolithic causality where you say this is just one thing that determines how we go, which for me is very positive. And we're going back to, as you hinted at, what's the network utility? What's the network usage? What's the underlying supply and demand for the different protocols, chains, coins? And with that, my experience is from especially Dubai, just recognizing we have spoken a lot about ETH versus Sol, right? So Ethereum versus Solana. And for me, there is a major difference between the two. And you can see that especially with NFTs versus meme coins. So NFTs were said to be, this is the art of the digital world. And in a case, just technologically, I'm completely online with that. Whether CryptoPunks, and we've seen just yesterday, I think it was CryptoPunks 634, 36 something was sold for a massive amount of ETH. Let's discount this transaction. But last year it was NFTs, or the year before NFTs. And now it's meme coins. And what is the difference? For me, there is a real difference between those. NFTs were executed mainly on Ethereum, more expensive, let's say with a little bit more substance, I would say. So it could be kind of an art project, whatever you do with it. Meme coins at the same time are for me more like fast fashion. And this is why Sol spurs. Sol is more cost efficient. It has had some performance problems. Yeah, okay, but let's discount for that. But basically, it's an operating system to have, let's say, a lot of coins over and over again. So you can have a lot of turnover and still it's efficient to do that. If you would do the same on Ethereum, it would be much more expensive. So actually, Solana is the first protocol that allows for more consumer-oriented use cases of crypto. So I had, and no disrespect to the Solana guys, right? This is not a judgment. But if you look at it, it's a little bit like Ethereum. If you go for fashion, Ethereum would be Paris and Solana would be Bangladesh. Actually, you buy your sneakers, you trade even your sneakers, right? But still they stay sneakers. They're consumer products in the end. And they are produced where it's best, most efficient, the cheapest. And actually, Solana provides kind of the infrastructure for something like this. So for me, the interesting thing is, let's say meme coins, okay, let's say this is for the, let's say, foreseeable next future. It's a pure retail trading game because it's so fast. Institutionals can't keep up with that. Every 2 or 3 months, you need to completely turn over your portfolio to be with the latest hype. And this is not something that TradFi-oriented institutionals can do. But let's see what comes next. This is for me really interesting. Will it be still on Solana? Will there be another protocol that all of a sudden pops up and gets the demand? And what is the next one after meme coins? Right? I mean, I guess meme coins are there to stay for a couple of months still, but no one knows for how long. I mean, at some point in time, dogs with hats will have expired in their attention grabbing.
You say so. I don't think I disagree, but I think you got to look at them more like maybe followership to a football club, right?
Oh yeah, good point. Yeah,
I think meme coins are much more this followership of a football club. You kind of enjoy the content created as part of the coin or with the community of the coin in social media. That is sort of what you support. And to be honest, it might actually exist for much longer, right? People identify with paper, people identify with and they just enjoy watching the art that is created with it, right? And the fact that they can create it themselves and get likes and get views on it, right?
That's a good one. Hey, nice. For me, actually, now this is authentic, guys. This is true. We haven't spoken about that before. This is a good thing. then I would frame it a little bit different. Just taking that up, it means not that it will be over at some point in time, but there will be a structure where you say, hey, there might be a couple of more even of meme coin communities that work, but it's not like 5,000 meme coin communities working at the same level. It's a little bit, if you compare it to this, like in sports, you have leagues, right? So you have the Premier League, second, third, and then it's like the newcomers, but then that's it, right? So yeah, So we have actually 2 questions to answer in the next month. What model will it be, and who will prevail? Interesting.
Yeah, true. All right. And I mean, you mentioned already, right, in Dubai, a lot of the attention was on meme coins. Interestingly, here in Bangkok, just adding to it, it's less so the meme coins, it's a lot more the layer 1 and layer 2 projects. It is, interestingly tied to Gamefi a lot. So play to earn games, or generally, I guess, funding and financing of Gamefi projects through tokens is what we've seen here a lot. And then the layers that support, say, fast execution, as you said, right? Solana, fantastic for coin creation, coin swapping. There's other networks that really focus maybe on the graphic utilization, or just being sort of fast enough to support interactive games. And overall, I guess we both agree, right? The market is extremely bullish still. We're just at best maybe halfway in the bull market. I don't think we've seen the top yet. And that is a quick shout out to Arthur. We are in a high interest rate environment still, right? I mean, the entire bull market that we've seen has not yet seen decline. It's been just the anticipation of stable rates and I guess a slightly more positive economic outlook for the US economy that has driven us from somewhere in the 20,000 to now a pretty robust mid 60,000. And we haven't seen rate cut yet. So the whole inflationary argument actually isn't there yet. At best in anticipation, but not yet there, right? So there's a lot more to come. And which leads me to ETFs. But
okay, let me first go to something else, because it's a natural here too. It's, as you say, we're middle of the bull run, still positive. Macroeconomic trends haven't even kicked in, as said in the beginning. And how did we react? You know that we implemented 250 times leverage on our platform, right? So if it goes up, trade 250 times. Even if you believe it's going down, trade 250 times. And even if it's range bound between 65 and 70, you still can play the up and down with less collateral than before, because that's what it's about. It's about capital efficiency. You can make your money with less collateral needed. Of course, do your risk management, stop orders, etc., etc., etc. We say that every time, because we want to make sure that the guys trade professionally. But you can tap into that even now much better than before. And I mean, the campaign around it was great. I trade quite a bit, 250 times leverage, and it's great fun.
Exactly. I think that's it, right? 250x is fun. It's the immediate response in the market. It's hire or fire. It's obviously, at least from my perception, not something I would put a lot of money on. But it's the kind of thing where with a little bit of money, you have a lot of fun, right? It's the going into the arcade type mode. And I really think it's great fun. And in an environment where we're trading within range anyway, hey, it's relatively easy to try out.
Exactly.
But what's going to get us out of the range, hopefully, is next week's ETF launch in Hong Kong, which I think we've spoken a bit about, but is generally a bit flying under the radar after the big hype on the ETFs in the US. Hong Kong has given approvals to 3 funds that will list a ETF on the 30th of April, which is Tuesday next week. And it will be Bitcoin and ETH ETFs, the first ETH ETF, cash-settled ETH ETF out there in the market. Plus, the big surprise that was announced this week, it's not just settled in USD or Hong Kong dollars, it will actually be settled in Chinese yuan, which can potentially open up an entire new market that has been off the Bitcoin game for a long time. So something to look for.
I think same here. I'm really bullish about this one because I wouldn't expect a big impact on day one, but it has a potential that is as big as the US ETFs for the reason you just said. And second, it's even for ETH, which is prior to the US one. So it's a huge opportunity. I'm really looking forward to seeing how the volumes will behave and how much inflow we will see over a longer term. I mean, you saw the US ETFs. That was like a firework for me. It was like every money, the money flew in, and now we're basically stable. It's nothing happens, right? It's like they have allocated their wealth that they want to have there for whatever reason, and nothing happens again. I mean, you even see rather slight outflows. I think those ETFs will have at least the potential to drive base demand over a much longer period. So, and this is the news about it for me. And as you say, I'm happy about it, but I'm curious about how that will go and how fast
it starts on the day before a holiday. So probably you're right. It's not going to be a mega fund inflow, but in the long run, certainly something to look for. And it's the first time in 4 years that Chinese citizens can buy Bitcoin legally. Right? So it's a big step. Kudos to the regulators, really, also in getting that across.
Absolutely amazing. Yeah. And with that, it's a nice outlook for next week and the next weeks to come. And I guess we will come back especially to the Hong Kong ETFs and their inflows in very due course.
Thank you very much, Stephan. Have a great weekend. Relax after a fair bit of travel and uneasy travel. As you mentioned, Dubai, I think, was not a place to be, but it was a place to be.
A lot of liquidity.
Yeah. Excess liquidity, exactly. And then talk to you next week. Have a great week until then. Bye.
Speak to you soon and enjoy Bangkok. See you.
Thank you.